आपादमौलिपर्यन्तां गुरूणामाकृतिं स्मरेत् विघ्न प्रणश्यन्ति सिद्ध्यन्ति च मनोरथः लक्ष्मीं तनोतु नितरामितरानपेक्षमङ्गृद्वयं निगमसाक्षिखा हैरम्बमम्बुरुहणं परचौर्यनिग्रं विघ्नाद्विभेदशतधारधुरन्धरन्नः सर्वेषां स्वागतं वेलकम टू दी Bhashya session, and since we are starting the second chapter of Krishnamruta Maharnava, the essence of all Shastras, what do they say? What are they trying to, why have they been written? One of the biggest prayojana, the sadhana chatushtaya of any particular Shastra has to have something called as prayojana. Prayojana means what do we get out of this particular Shastra by studying the Shastra? Why are we doing it? So that we understand that the essence of all the Shastras has been, Acharya over here tries to say that the essence of all the Shastras, regardless of the subject, regardless of the area, regardless of the field, anywhere that we go, we are trying to zero in on only one particular aspect, that is trying to understand Janardana or Narayana. That we actually have this. We have similar shlokas also in Vishnu Sahasranama. Also, we will get a similar shloka. That is Yogo Jnanan Tatha Sankhyam Vidya Shilpadi Karmacha Veda Shastrani Vijnanam Etat Sarvan Janardanat. So from Janardana only this is coming. And therefore, what is the essence of all these Shastras? It is just describing some aspect of him. In fact, the here in the as per this verse, we can see that the yoga, jnana from the yoga, then the Sankhya is learning cosmology, and then Shilpa, different Shastras, Karmacha, understanding our own karmas, the implications, the laws of karma. Then the Vedas, Shastras, Vijnana, everything is trying to understand Janardana. In the same way, in the shloka that we are talking about over here, also trying to say the same thing, that the essence of all the Shastras is Janardana, or over here Narayana. We can is going to infer by dwelling into that, by studying into that, we may try to understand him. The theory is simply that whatever has been come out as an invention, discovery, etc., has not been discovered to in particular with a particular search for that particular thing. That is, we haven't discovered the decimal point, or we haven't invented the decimal point to bring about a mathematical formulation or to expand mathematical field. But what we are trying to do is we are trying to understand the source of creation. And that source of creation over here is what we say is Janardana or Narayana, or by whatever name we want to call that that point. And therefore we are looking at different ends, and we are trying to approach that like that. And the whole concept of limits, we are approaching zero but not yet equivalent to zero. So all these things, they are actually of dual aspect. If I say there is total identity between the Atma and Paramatma, then we could have said that, okay, it is zero, it is approaching zero. When we see limits and continuity, we find that the concept is approaching zero, it is not zero. So, like that, any Shastras that has an Indian origin has its seed with understanding our creator. That is the primary objective of going into any Shastras. If we look at Vyakarana also, why are we learning the whole Ashtadhyayi, or we are learning how the whole Vyakarana construct has come into play. Grammar, why are we learning grammar so much? Because we know that the Vedas dictate the whole universe, the existence of the whole universe is through primordial sound waves. So Vangmayam, it says. So therefore, we are trying to understand it through the Shabda Shastra. Vyakarana is also called a Shabda Shastra. So there also in Vyakarana we have two Vibhagas. There we find that one part of grammar is Prakriya oriented, which is nothing but Sandhi, Samasa, Kriya Pada, Nama Pada, etc., etc. And the other one is philosophy oriented, which means which concerns primarily with the four different kinds of vak, four kinds of sounds, that is paravak, pashyanti vak, madhyama vak, and vaikhari vak. So the philosophy does not end with just um, a prakriya or understanding how a word came by. It is trying to understand where the initiation of sound comes from. So there also the intention is to understand the concept of Advaita, because Vyakarana is primarily embedded through Advaita philosophy. Again, if you go to mathematics also, we will find the similar concept over there. There, mathematics is not trying to understand uh, the field of 1 plus 1 is equal to 2. That is the least of our concern. That is worldly mathematics. Pure mathematics goes far beyond that, where we are trying to understand when we try to bring about certain calculations, not even calculations, when we try to understand certain akara, certain geometrical patterns. In that geometrical patterns, those are nothing but interpretations of certain graphs. So it leads to a certain pattern. So mathematics and the whole geometry, we are trying to interpret the primordial existence through that. We are trying to understand what is singularity through a process of mathematical interpretation. So all these things, we are trying to find what an answer to a question is. The question remains the same, who our creator is, and we are trying to do it through different approach and different fields. So regardless of which subject, which field, and which language we are dwelling into, they're all going to lead to only one conclusion, that is that it is Narayana or Janardana or whoever that we are talking about, that is a creator. That is the essence of all the Shastras. And here, too much into those particular fields of understanding, fields of knowledge, will make us a little non-flexible to other Shastras understanding of it. Like, for example, how there is a um, when we go through either Nyaya or Vyakarana or any of these Shastras, we find that there are arguments. Like, for example, there is an argument between a Mimamsaka and then a Nayayika. And there is a argument between, like that, the arguments are basically understanding the concepts that these people, that is one field, has given rise to, as against what the other field is trying to understand. The concepts remain similar. The logic they are trying to use may be different as per their fields. But all these things are trying to prove the same thing. So here, the essence of Dvaita is Bhakti Yoga. So through Bhakti Yoga, they are trying to prove it is much better. Their system of logic is, understanding is Bhakti Yoga, and to them that is much more better than Jnana Yoga, which is supported strictly by, not strictly, which is supported initially by Advaita, and then Jnana Karma Samuchaya Yoga, which is usually supported by Vishishta Advaita, and Karma Yoga, which is usually supported by Nastikas and other different schools of thought. But Bhakti Yoga is said to be the most, as per Dvaiti argument, it is said to be the most appropriate one for us humans, because it is very difficult to come about bhakti in any other form of existence. So here, why is bhakti yoga important? That has been given over here. Sharanam, the second shloka, it's a Sharanam Harim. So that person who can grant me everything just by his thought, who starts to bring about auspiciousness just by his thought. So I bow down to him, I seek refuge in him, etc., etc., is what the shloka is saying. But why bhakti yoga? Because bhakti yoga has all the essentials of all the other three yogas, the four yogas that has been specified in Bhagavad Gita, taking Bhagavad Gita into account. We will find there is Jnana Yoga, then there is um, Karma Yoga, then there is Raja Yoga or Dhyana Yoga, and then we have in the end, the last one is Bhakti Yoga. Now, of all the three, what does each specify? Jnana Yoga shows our interest, uh, adhyana, and action towards the ultimate knowledge, that is the knowledge of moksha, learning or understanding the concept of Brahman or the state of Brahman. So here it is not just adhyana but also action, that is going practicing all those asteya parigraha, all the there are so many things that is related to that. So practicing that state, meditative state, then if we go by yoga, it is reaching the state of samadhi. Now, what does karma yoga say? Karma yoga say that it should be selfless action. We should do any action of us should not hurt anybody. So it should be nishkama karma, and it should be something that doesn't hurt anybody else. We should not put out karma that harms somebody else, because it comes back to us. So that is karma. Then in the same way, now after these two, we have dhyana yoga. Dhyana yoga is disciplining the physical self through the Ashtanga yoga procedures to Hatha yoga, etc., etc. We are trying to discipline the physical self, because only when the physical self is disciplined, we can focus our mind on the internal self. So when the Stula Sharira is disciplined, Sukshma Sharira can be stabilized, and it will focus on Karana Sharira. Therefore, these three are very important. But when we come to Bhakti Yoga includes all these three. When we talk about Jnana Yoga, yes, the most popular activity of Bhakti Yoga is understanding the concept of our Ishtadeva. So when we talk, we have already seen this. Um, why do we when we looked at the previous few shlokas of the previous chapter, there was a shloka which said that a person who doesn't hear stories of Krishna, he is deaf. He is equivalent to being deaf. A person who doesn't take his Nama Sankirtana, the one who doesn't do it, he is dumb. He is equivalent to dumb. Who cannot imagine the uh, Lord's figure, or who cannot sakshatkara of Krishna, that person is equivalent to being blind. So Bhakti Yoga is expands our knowledge about our Ishtadevata, whoever we want to see as the Parabrahma. So here, Bhakti, what we did in Jnana Yoga, learning more about the state of Parabrahman, and that we are learning through Krishna over here. And then when we look at Karma Yoga is selfless action. Compassion, Krishna is nothing but pure love. Krishna is nothing but pure compassion. So when the embodiment of our Ishtadevata itself is these two virtues, then what karma is going to show us? It is going to show us that everything that we do, it is done through these two virtues. And therefore, most of the things, even when we say, in the end, we say, we do a samarpanam. and Sri Krishnarpanamastu, Sarvam Sri Krishnarpanamastu. So this is getting detached from our actions also. And as Krishna himself says, Karmanyeva adhikaraste. So Karmanya eva adhikaras. We have adhikara only on karma. So the Bhakti Yoga is also teaching the essential points of what Karma Yoga is saying. And then when we look at Dhyana Yoga or Raja Yoga, which is trying to discipline the physical body, there Bhakti Yoga has many, it may not implement a stepwise process because that is a different field, but it also involves disciplining the self, like through, let's say, Ekadashi Vrata. It is disciplining the body, and it is done in such a way that we are attributing it to our Ishtadevata, Krishna, and therefore we do not have any qualms. I may have a qualm about getting up early in the morning doing some yoga. Let us say I am doing it on some important day like Janmashtami, or I'm doing it on Ganesh Chaturthi. I'm I may have a problem getting up doing some work on normal days, but on those days I'm actually up. I'm trying to help around the house. I'm trying to do different jobs. So bringing about that association is actually going to help me discipline my physical self. So therefore, Bhakti Yoga has this innate quality which can fulfill all the different intentions, targets, or objectives of Jnana Yoga, Karma Yoga, and Dhyana Yoga. Therefore, Bhakti Yoga is superior. And that is the reason why Dvaitis feel that Bhakti Yoga trumps all the other three, and we have to approach the essence of all the Shastras, or trying to understand what the essence of all the Shastras is through this route. This is their understanding of it. Then the last one was the Punyarjana. And Punyarjana, as we all know, it says that just by taking the name of Narayana, Vasudeva, all the punya that we have earned, or what we can earn by reading the Vedas, the Yajnas, etc., etc., by doing the Yajnas, all that we can earn only through, or we can earn just by chanting the name of Vasudeva. And this is there is a similar shloka in Bhagavad Gita also. That is 8th chapter and 28th shloka, which is वेदेषु यज्ञेषु तपस्सु चैव दानेषु यत्पुण्यफलं प्रदिष्टम् अत्येति तत्सर्वमिदौ विदित्वा yogi param sthanam upaiti chadyam. Here the first two lines are similar, and the second two lines it says different. Here it says vedeshu yajneshu tapassu chaiva daneshu yat punya phalam pradishtam. That means what punya we can earn from Vedas, from yajnas, from tapas, from dana, from doing dana, all that what we get, that we can when we get it, or when we learn from all these things, that whatever punya that we get, that is nothing as compared to the realization that we get. That is, atyeti tatsarvam idau viditva yogi paramsthana mupaiti chatyam. Yogi paramsthana, the person who realizes that the all these things, all the punya that we have earned from all these things is nothing compared to the supreme truth of Parabrahman. That person is a true yogi, is what this shloka says, which is nothing but what has been indicated in this shloka also. So where it is saying that whatever is the punyarjana that we are doing, all that can be earned only through surrendering ourselves to Vasudeva, which is nothing but what a yogi is going to do. So, yogi paramsthana upaiti chadyam cha adyam. So that is what these three shlokas are trying to say, the essence of all these three shlokas. So, स्वस्ति प्रजाभ्यः प्रतिपालयन्तां न्यायेन मार्गेण मही महिषा गोब्राह्मणेभ्यो शुभमस्तु नित्यं। लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु। कायेन वाचा मनसेन्द्रियैर्वा बुद्ध्यात्मना वा प्रकृते स्वभावात् करोमि यद्यत् सकलं परस्मै नारायणायेति समर्पयामि।